From the heart of Nairobi to the pulse of the continent, this is Ongea, where stories breathe, voices rise, and clarity leads the way. I'm Bruno, and for the next half hour, we are diving deep into the rhythms of youth, the rituals of resilience, and the power of design to shape tomorrow. Whether you're tuning in from Busia, Lagos, or London, welcome to the conversation. Let's Ongea. I'm privileged to host one Calvin Adams, an alumnus of the first ever Media Communication Skills Masterclass, a guy who's passionate about aviation and a whole lot of other things, public speaking included. So, yes, Calvin, introduce yourself to our listeners.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Calvin Adams. As Adam has clearly given my introduction, I am an alumnus of the first masterclass for Ongea. I'm also passionate about aviation and public speaking, amongst other things. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much. So, our topic of discussion today is titled Ghosted by a Friend, and I had a series of questions lined up for Adams. The first one being defining the pain, getting to know what ghosted or being ghosted by a friend feels like. So, on to my first question. How does the feeling of being ghosted by a friend differ from a relationship that simply fades away naturally? How does the feeling of being ghosted by a friend differ from a relationship that simply fades away naturally?
Okay. Being ghosted by a friend resembles two people in a room, whereby you are in a state of friendship or you're together in that room, but then at some point you are abruptly sent out and the door closed behind you, which leaves you with more of a confusion and a deep state of rejection. While when friendship slowly fades away, there is a mutual understanding that we are slowly growing apart. In the sense that you are understanding that life has changed and it's gradual, there is acceptance in the process. But when you're ghosted, it's an abrupt and it leaves deep confusion because it denies you the chance to process that emotional closure. I believe most of us have been in this particular situation, and we live such relationships with deep confusion and deep guilt amongst ourselves. Yeah, that's how I define the pain.
Well, thank you so much for that sort of elaborate distinction between a friendship that's fading and something that just happens abruptly, that being ghosted. And then, in the absence of any explanation, what kind of narratives or assumptions do people often create in their minds to explain the friend's sudden departure? So, when someone decides to ghost you, what are some of the things that come into mind?
Okay. Something I believe in is that the human mind, it craves to understand things. So we are filled with self-doubt and anger, replaying old scenarios. Where is what did I do? Where did I go wrong? What did I say that offended the person? And we search for clues in different perspectives. Maybe let's say you are chatting with someone on Instagram, you review your old messages or old conversations, and sadly to be told, these imagined stories often hurt more than the truth will have. So when your friends or people suddenly disappear in your life, you go back to yourself asking many questions that what did I do wrong? Where did I go? Where did I find this person? Yeah, and such and such. So those are some of the assumptions people come up with, and I believe all, if not most of us, have undergone such scenarios. Yeah.
So, you dig deeper into yourself, you start beating yourself up that maybe it was me, maybe I'm the one who had, or I'm the one who made the mistake. Well, in real sense, maybe it was mutual in a way. Maybe the other party had something to do as well. And then in the first question, you talked about closure without answers. What does true closure actually look like in this specific scenario? What can be deemed as true closure?
Okay. True closure doesn't necessarily come from the getting the explanation on what went wrong. true closure comes from accepting the fact that it did happen, but now moving from where did I go wrong to what can I do to heal? What can I do to get better? What can I do to progress from this state that I was? Now that's true closure, according to me. Yeah.
So true closure is moving from where did I go wrong to what can I do to recover from this pain, from this mess that I found myself in. Is that it?
Yeah. It's more of a self-drive act of reclaiming your inner peace. You need
Okay.
to stop asking
Yeah.
yourselves, because your peace isn't mostly dependent on someone's apology or clarity. It just happens when you stop asking where you went wrong, rather focusing on what can I do to heal, what can I do to get better. It's not from the explanation on what went wrong. It's from accepting and moving forward.
So the power ultimately lies with you, the one who's been ghosted, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And then what is a practical technique or mindset shift that helps someone accept the lack of explanation and focus on their own healing? You talked of the need for people to begin healing themselves. So, what are some of the techniques or mindset shifts that can help people do that?
Okay, this I have a variety of options, all which are viable in this context. So we have the faith-based way, whereby you redirect your mindset in the sense that I didn't lose something because I was protected from what no longer fit in my path. It was no longer in my path to destiny. Okay, so I was redirected. They call it divine redirection from what is not meant to what is meant. I am getting something that was meant for me. Another option is more of focusing that energy in growth. That whenever your mind drifts to replaying moments like what now instead of why, you create something or connect more with people who bring calm. There's a certain term that it's called rumination, okay, which is more of accepting that not everything has to make sense. Okay, it helps you to deal mostly in the matters of explanation and getting clarity, and helps you to focus on the other things that are better in progressing on life. And then we have, of course, reframing the story, whereby you won't say that no, they rejected me or they abandoned me or they left me, but in rather saying that they showed me that I won't accept such people again. Because when someone ghosts you, it means that that friendship was not meant to be, or someone cutting off a friendship means kind of like it was not meant to be and they were not deserving of me or I was not deserving of them. So they are showing you that you won't accept such person. You'd settle for less once again. So it changes your anger, your hatred, and your pain into a perspective, rejection into something being revealed, a revelation, a lesson in what you deserve, telling yourself, I deserve better, and what real friendship, real relationships look like. Now, another one um, which is mostly used by a lot of people, especially in young ages, there is an unsent letter method where you write all your feelings to a piece of paper or something of the sort, and then you read it once, and then you delete or erase it or dispose of it. This action helps release the emotions that are keeping you tied to the unanswered why, and symbolizes your own closure. It's better to get on with it, over with it at that fast. That if you really are concerned with just the why, just write it down from a piece of paper or anywhere else, and erase it and delete it after reading it once. You get control and composure and closure. Now, the last one, it's the self-compassion mindset, whereby you replace self-blame with self-compassion. Instead of saying, why wasn't I enough? You remind yourself that I deserved honesty. Yeah, if you okay, it's just changing that mindset that um, he or she shut me off, ghosted me, but I deserved honesty. No, you start having self-compassion on yourself, because you can't control what others think or their actions or they behave. But something you can control, something that is under your control, is how kindly you treat yourself, how better you treat yourself, how best you treat yourself, by encouraging yourself with gentle self-talk. For example, I can't change their silence, or I can't change their ghosting, but I can change by giving myself peace. So those are some practical aspects that I personally have been able to employ in my life whenever someone ghosted me, something of the sort. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I've been able to pick a couple of them. There's rumination, there's reframing the story, there's divine redirection, and senseless method, and finally the self-compassion mindset. One that I normally use is more or less related to the divine redirection, where I tell myself everything happens for a reason, and this definitely happened for a reason. Yes, thank you. I'm grateful for those valuable insights that you just shared with us. So, what are some of the healthy ways people can redirect the energy they spend replaying the situation or seeking an explanation? So, we've got this loads of energy, but instead of using them in a good way, you're using energy to replay the situation or seek an explanation. So, how can you redirect it into more meaningful activities?
Okay, with that question, some of us focus more on, okay, it's usually very hard to move on from such a scenario, and we should focus our energy into more of discovering more about ourselves, you know, by, let's say, focusing your thoughts in hobbies or nurturing consistent friendship. You know, emotional energy is a very powerful tool, and when it's okay, when it's directed, it fuels more of growth in matters of joy and finding a new purpose for yourself. Healing, true healing, is not about forgetting the past. It's finding something meaningful beyond that pain, beyond that anger, beyond that hatred, beyond that hurt. Now that's true healing. It's not forgetting the past, because the past doesn't change. You won't forget it, but you can now focus on something better for yourself by discovering more about yourself and focusing on things that matter, like consistent friendships that matter to you, friendships that you're not going to be ghosted, friendships that are not going to be discouraged, friendships that are not going to be rejected. So you can focus your energy in that direction, your emotional energy in that direction, where you are heartless, but you grow more. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. And then moving forward to my next set of questions. How does being ghosted in a friendship impact someone's ability to trust or form new, deep connections? How does being ghosted in a friendship impact someone's ability to trust or form new, deep connections?
Okay, this question, when most people are usually ghosted, they enter into a state of having too many high walls around them. You get insecurity issues. You stop interacting with more people. You are only thinking in the direction that people will leave me in the end, people will just reject me. Your self-belief is extremely lowered, you know. But in this case, okay, it creates some sort of an emotional caution where you are afraid to interact with more people. And people, everyone, I'm quite sure if not everyone has ever been in this situation whereby you are afraid of getting attached once again. And it will create some sort of emotional caution. You might start expecting people to leave. Okay, you're just like, I know he or she will go in the end. It won't last that long, and you hold back vulnerability to people, even those who are quite intentional around you. But in this case, understanding the scenario is very key. Of being aware of the situation, that not every person's silence will define their reliability. Okay, mostly healing often means rebuilding trust gradually. You won't always stay in that cocooned state of yourself. Always, you must start building trust gradually, and choosing to stay open, be available, be reliable to more healthy and consistent connections and friendships and relationships. In as much as your trust will be affected, but it can still grow gradually because not everyone, not everyone will leave you, not everyone will reject you. So in line with the first question, focus your energy in things that matter more, things that build you more. Learn from your past, learn from the past, grow as you move forward, being a better version of yourself, being the best of yourself for people around you because energy is reciprocated. But when you're best in your own self by giving it all, the same will be given unto you when it's a healthy and consistent relationship. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, thank you. You started with something that when these things happen, we should not have high walls around us. We should consider having shorter walls. The ones who listen to this show will be on your neck. Anyway, that aside, what is the main positive personal growth that can eventually emerge from experiencing this kind of painful and unresolved loss?
Okay. I have different options. Or let me say so. Let me say ways in which you are going to be growing. There is one, you become more mature emotionally. By facing something you can't control, whether when someone controls you, when someone ghosts you, you can't control that situation. It teaches you on being emotionally mature, whereby your self-reflection and communication will grow and you'll know how to handle loss with grace. You learn more about who you are and what you value in relationships. You become a changed person, whereby with every time that you are ghosted or with that point that you're ghosted, you grow more stronger towards emotional maturity and how you handle it. You won't be depressed, and because you will understand that sometimes people are like seasons. In this context, that for me, I usually visualize that we have two different types of people in one's life. We have those who are assignments and we have those who are attachments. Assignments are people who are meant to be in your life continually. Let's say your parents, your spouses, your closest friends, people who are supposed to be in your life for a very long time, mostly even a lifetime. And then you have attachments. Attachments are people who are there seasonally and they may affect your life positively or negatively. Maybe when they ghost you, or maybe those specific people who are in your life for that particular time. Let's take an example. Um, Not most of your friends who you were with in primary are your friends to now. Same with high school. Same with even before, maybe in church and everything. Some people just appear in your life for a brief period. For a brief period. So understanding this concept after being ghosted and being left or being rejected, you come to understand that not everyone is supposed to be in your life. Some people are just meant to exist in a certain sphere of your life, and the rest is just assignments for you. Now, mistakes people make is directing assignment energy to attachment energy, to attachment people, whereby something that's supposed to be to people who are existing in your lifetime, you focus it on people who are just there seasonally. And then when they ghost you, you become depressed, you are filled with extremely high walls from the previous question, you become less exposed to closure and interactions and such and such and such. So this brings me to my second option. There's a strength and sense of self-worth and understanding of people. Being ghosted can rebuild your self-worth from within, and you realize that your value is not determined by who stays or who leaves. You know, such a realization will create a deep, lasting confidence in your own destiny, and that you'll focus more on people who are there for a lifetime. In as much you'll be more accepted, your acceptance levels would rise to the people who are there seasonally, those attachments in your life. Another option, you are going to gain more empathy and emotional intelligence. Your empathy will develop from the understanding that people often disappear not out of malice. Some people just disappear because maybe they are battling their own pain from previous relationships. But of course, this doesn't excuse them because it will help you see others' humanity more clearly. understand that people are not the same. Some people are battling their inner forces, inner wars from other relationships and etc. And it will make you more kinder and understanding and empathetical, and hence more discerning to relationships which end abruptly. Of course, spiritual and inner peace, especially you learn that trust life's timing, You won't force, okay, you will trust that when the timing is right, you'll get what you deserve. That not, of course, not every person is meant to stay forever, as I've said. Some people are just attachments in your life. Some were there to teach you something in a good or in a bad way. And that acceptance will make you be more calm and more thankful to the people around you, and both get a connection by understanding who is your assignment, who is your attachment, and a lesson afterwards. So it will help you to be more understanding that not every person is meant to stay there forever, and hence you gain spiritual and inner peace. Now, the last point. Now you become more redirected towards more healthier connections. The gap that is usually left behind oftenly creates space, oftenly if not all the time, creates space for more genuine and aligned relationships. No, ghosting can push you away from people. That's true, but it can also push you toward people who communicate, who are intentional about their friendship, who are intentional about their feelings, who are intentional about being vulnerable to each other and understanding each other's value. Yeah, so those are the growth options that I think one might grow from such scenarios of being ghosted or rejected. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, wow. Thank you as well, Calvin. You've dropped some Solomonic wisdom in answering the questions. Some key takeaways from me include the distinction between assignments and attachments in our lives, as well as the need for us to handle loss in a graceful manner or handle loss with grace. Now, this set of questions is pretty interesting because they're based on the most recent episode, The Friendship Fade. I hope you listened to it. Did you?
Pardon me?
I'm saying this next set of questions I'm going to pose are related to the most recent episode, The Friendship Fade. Did you listen to it?
Yeah, yes, I did.
Okay, okay. Now, they're just two. What does emotional exhaustion feel like in a friendship, and how do you recognize it in time? What does emotional exhaustion feel like in a friendship, and how do you recognize it in time?
Okay, I will answer this in this context that sometimes there's a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. Sometimes emotional exhaustion comes from you caring too much without closure. I don't even understand me. That sometimes we want to be the energy to be reciprocated to us. You exert too much of yourself by investing in emotions and time and affections, but now you get exhausted without when it's not reciprocated towards you, and it's a very tiring thing sometimes because you can only go to as much time, you know, you can only do it to as much time, and sometimes I'll answer it on a personal basis. But sometimes you may come to realize that some people won't always reciprocate the same energy, but it doesn't mean that you cut them off. While there's some people who will genuinely not reciprocate the same energy because they do not value your position in their lives. So emotional exhaustion is a very practical thing to this current setting of age, and if you do not realize that some things are not meant for you, while some things do not really require you to exert yourself over, you always end up depressed and always feeling dejected. So that's my understanding of emotional exhaustion from a personal end. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. So it talks of emotional exhaustion being a type of tiredness that sleep cannot fix. I love
Uh,
that. And that we need to understand the concept of reciprocity in a more wide manner.
mhm.
And then on to my other question, if you could speak to a friend you drifted from, what would you want them to know? What would you tell them?
Okay, let me try to rephrase the question. You say that if I speak to someone who I is it ghosted before.
Yeah, ghosted, drifted from.
Okay, if I could speak to someone who I ghosted before, I would rather think I would rather give him the reference that I ghosted him or her. Okay, intentional or not intentional, he or she deserved better. And I know sometimes the closure he or he will get won't be clearly defined from my explanation on how sorry I am. Okay, but I'll ask him or her to focus more on people who are intentional towards her, people who are more more of friends, true friends to her or him in their lives. In the sense that if I was not meant to be in their life, then I won't be, whether I ghosted or not. There's just a way in which I will be directed, or he or she will be directed towards better people. So, in as much as I will be apologizing for such a scenario, I will ask him or her that there is always a better option. There's always a better chance or better people to interact with. And that maybe I wasn't deserving of the friendship. And so the energy should be directed to someone else who is better. But I also assure her or him that I am growing from my own ends, that sometimes we learn from our mistakes, that it's not right to ghost without an explanation or an apology or a reason. I know that it's important, but it's still not right. So yeah.
Wow. You know what came to mind when you're talking about better? Motoria's song. I've been upset because no one loves me better. That's what came to mind because you're talking about better. They find someone better out there. They find a better opportunity. Better here, better there. Yeah. Anyway, we are nearing the close of this, and I'd love us to finish with a quote. You're into public speaking, and quotes are just something there. So I'll drop a quote, and then you'll have like 5 seconds to tell us what that quote means to you. Okay? So this is a quote, and I quote: "The most painful goodbyes are the ones left unsaid and never explained." By Jonathan Harnish. The most painful goodbyes are the ones left unsaid and never explained. Jonathan Harnish. What does that mean to you in 5 seconds?
I will add more context to it. Now, when people leave you suspended between hope and heartbreak, now that's what I've understood from this quote. That when people leave you without explaining anything, it's that you are left suspended between the hope that they might come back or the heartbreak that they may never come back. And you keep replaying moments, um, searching for some finality word or reason or a sign that this relationship mattered or could have been better, but none ever comes. That's where the pain comes from. It's not the absence of a person that hurts, you know? It's not that person who left that hurts. No, it's knowing, it's the absence of closure, of knowing where you stand in that person's life, left in the middle. You don't know if you're still connected or you're not connected. You're just there without any absence of closure. And yet, of course, in time, that silence teaches you to to say goodbye for yourself. Not because they explained, but because you deserve peace, even without their words, you know? And of course, more pain will come from being denied the dignity to an end. Because I mean, if you really want to end things with me, at least give me that respect and dignity of ending it. But pain will come from not getting that dignity of an end. So yeah, I think that's what I get from it.
Thank you so much. You know what came to mind?
Yeah.
A guy in the shape of an X, a letter X. So half of
Mm-hmm.
this guy is drawn towards hope, the other half is drawn towards heartbreak. Because you've said it clearly that it's a line between hope and heartbreak. Thank you so much, Calvin, for creating time to be with us here at the Ongea podcast. And I'm also grateful because you're part of the people who played a key role in ensuring that this thing became a success. And Sana, do you have any parting
Well,
shots as we conclude in 30 seconds?
yeah, I actually do have. Um, my urge to everyone is that understand that concept of attachment and assignments. It helped personally for me to move on forward from relationships that did not quite venture well up to the end, or things that abruptly ended for me. We all deserve better, but in the same case, you must be the best of yourselves. You won't say you deserve better in the same case when you are genuinely not giving your best to people around you. You deserve better the same way you should give your best because they also deserve better. Understand attachment and assignments in your life. Focus attachment energy to attachment people and assignment energy to assignment people. But sometimes you may lose assignments in your life because you are not giving them as much attention and energy as they need. Lastly, when you're being ghosted, don't focus so much on getting an explanation. Rather move forward. Be a better version of yourself. Know you deserve better and give your best to whatever relationships and connections you get afterwards. Pick the lessons, dust yourself, and move forward. Forward, forward, never backward. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Assignment well taken. That we should channel assignment energy towards assignment people. And what was the other thing you said? Aside from what was the other thing aside from the assignment people?
Move
Calvin.
forward. Yeah, move forward from past relationships, not with anger and hatred and pain. Rather, pick up the
Hmm.
lessons and become a better version of
Yeah,
yourself by giving the best to people around you, not just seeking
yeah,
better while giving something less than better. Be the best to get the
yeah.
best. Yeah.
With the best to get the best. Thank you so much. And you've divided these groups of people into the assignment set and the attachment set. Thank you so much. Now, as we come to the close, I wanted to tell our listeners what's next. So, next on Ongea, we'll be discussing this crazy topic. When your bestie dates your crush, what happens when loyalty collides with heartbreak? In our next episode, we unpack the emotional chaos of watching your best friend date the person you secretly liked. Expect raw honesty, blurred boundaries, and clarity fast reflections on jealousy, betrayal, and emotional maturity. Tune in, feel it, talk about it.